check out the Logitech HD Pro Webcam C920, affiliate link below in the video description. Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Matt Jarbo, and this is 3 Buck Theater. And it came out a couple months ago that Joss Whedon would be taking over the directorial duties for Zack Snyder's Justice League film, following the very unfortunate and tragic suicide of Zack Snyder's daughter back in March. And therefore, Snyder has pulled himself back, allowing Whedon to come on board to direct the reshoots that Whedon was brought in to script that are going to last approximately 2 months and cost the studio roughly $25 million, which tells me that there is a large portion of the film that is going to be redone in order to make it more lighter in tone and more fun for the audiences, especially after Wonder Woman came out and it did gangbusters. People want hope and optimism in a DC movie, and that's what they're going to get. But what is the long-lasting ramifications of that is kind of what we're seeing here, saying that Snyder's influence on DC films will be significantly smaller moving forward. And this is probably getting a lot of cheers and claps from people all around the internet who dislike Zack Snyder. I'm actually one of the few people that love his vision for these films and want to see them continue, because I like the deconstruction of these characters and them questioning their humanity, and then learning also to be human and what it means to value life. That is something that I feel was very, very, very underlooked, or overlooked, I should say, when it came to the post commentary for both Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. But also, I fully understand that wanting the fun and the hope and the optimism for this franchise going forward makes absolute sense, and I am on board with that. So it is very much kind of like, well, we're losing one, but we're getting something else that's even badass. So it says here that while Christopher Nolan kept DC Comics movie in the public eye with his Dark Knight trilogy, starting in the mid-2000s, Nolan's insistence that his movies exist in their own cinematic realm resulted in the higher-ups at Warner Brothers and DC looking for a new creative partner who could kickstart a cinematic universe to rival what was happening at Marvel Studios. They chose Zack Snyder, who directed Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and most of Justice League. But a new report claims that Snyder's influence over at the DCEU will be significantly smaller moving forward, and if that weren't enough, Suicide Squad director David Ayer might be leaving the DCEU entirely. And that does make some sense, and that does get touched on later on in the article, but that does make sense. Ayer, I think, like, I really want to see his true vision for Suicide Squad. I was really displeased with how the studio handled it. In fact, the extended cut of Suicide Squad was just a mess, and you can see why they cut out a lot of it, but I feel Ayer's version would have been a lot better than what we got. But that being said, I still actually am a fan of Suicide Squad, albeit probably one of the few out there who are, at least publicly, vocally talking about how much they like the movie. But anyway, it says here that on Mashable, sources tell them that Zack Snyder and his wife, producer Deborah Snyder, will no longer have anything like the level of creative influence that got the franchise to this point. The Snyder stepped away from working on Justice League after the suicide of their daughter back in May, and it was actually back in March. And the Avengers director Joss Whedon, who had already rewritten some of the script, was hired to take over. Yesterday, we wrote about how Justice League's $25 million reshoots have lasted 2 months, and Whedon won't apparently receive a directing credit on the film, which, you know what, people are going to know the truth, and it's like, I would just give it to Snyder. If anything, as a farewell. You know, he's worked on that movie for years. I understand, you know, the whole Directors Guild and the credit situation, but it's something they should just let Snyder have. Warner Brothers denies the pair will have a limited involvement going forward, but Mashable has multiple sources that indicate whatever involvement that they will have will be at a distance, especially as they continue to grieve their daughter. They're reportedly thinking about making Warner Brothers movies that aren't part of the DCEU, but the duo will almost certainly retain producing or executive producing credit on at least the next few upcoming DC movies, including Aquaman, Suicide Squad 2, and Flashpoint. Meanwhile, Whedon is said to be DC Films president Geoff John's secret weapon, close creative partner, and a major part of the WB's creative team. So it looks like you'll have a lot more to say about the creation of these movies as the DCEU chugs ahead, as will Patty Jenkins, whose Wonder Woman has experienced record-breaking box office numbers and a glowing critical reception. And that's true. Patty Jenkins' part especially. Wonder Woman was just wonderful. I loved it. I loved every bit about it. You know, and I understand why Geoff Johns wants Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon made the MCU whole. in my opinion, by actually handling the ensemble that was the Avengers, coming in there and making it work in terms of just dialogue and action. And the movie itself was a lot of fun. Granted, he butted heads with Kevin Feige over Age of Ultron, and you guys got to understand, Joss Whedon was kind of gonna be like the golden child for Marvel for a while. He was flown to London for Thor 2 to do rewrites in order to make the script work a little bit better. People consulted with him on other projects. Like, he was going to be the big person working at Marvel, and then they just kind of had this vision that clashed with his vision, and ended up basically kind of, you know, making him walk away. But given the fact that the DCEU is nowhere near as entrenched in its you know, lineup as Marvel is at this point, you know, Marvel's they've already done 15 movies, you know what I mean? Like, they've got a vision, whereas DC's only done a couple. Geoff Johns needs to right the ship in order to capitalize on Wonder Woman's success. And I'm not going to lie, Joss Whedon is probably the right person to do it. He is the right person to do it. He'll be able to bring that ensemble, that fun, fresh ensemble feeling. He'll basically recreate Avengers with Justice League, which, let's be fair, a lot of fans actually want. And that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all. And so going forward, we'll have to wait to see what happens. My only fear with that is that his personal politics will enter into the fray. With him doing the Batgirl movie, you can almost bet that they will enter into the fray. But that being said, Joss Whedon is not the perfect male feminist ally that a lot of people out there think that he is. He gets heavily criticized for his treatment of female characters. And there was that little line from Avengers when Loki calls Black Widow a mewling quim. I looked it up. Quim is actually old slang for vagina, and no one caught that 5 years ago. So I guess good on you for that one. You're able to do it, Joss. You got one over on the feminists, of which you are one. So I don't know what to feel about that. And so it goes on to say here that this is all sure to upset a small group of vocal Snyder devotees who have embraced the director's grim and gritty vision for DC superheroes, despite those movies' largely negative critical reception. Yeah, but we all know critical reception means shit. We all know it means shit. Rotten Tomatoes is shit. We all know that. But I love the bloggers that are trying to defend it. After the success of their far more optimistic Wonder Woman, John says that he and WB's John Berg plan on making future DC movies fun and ditch the dark vibe that's been permeating them for the past few years. While Snyder clearly has diehard fans, I'm much more interested in his versions of these iconic comic book characters like Wonder Woman, who embrace their heroism instead of shunning it. And I understand both, though. I understand why Diana embraced her heroism. I get that. I also understand why Snyder went after Superman and like made him question his humanity and everything else. There's always these challenging themes in between each one. There's always these elements in between that are currently, you know, kind of always at battling each other. It's like, you know, it's just, I prefer it, but that's just me. You could feel totally different. And I got into some good conversations about this at Comic-Con that were very productive, I think. But anyway, the article here finishes up. Elsewhere, sources tell the outlet that David Ayer won't be part of future DC movies, despite his name still being attached to direct the female-led Harley Quinn spinoff Gotham City Sirens. Ayer's representatives deny that claim, but considering how recently he threw shade at his time with Warner's for his new movie Bright, saying, isn't like some bullshit standard issue studio PG-13 movie, he said this at Comic-Con. They wouldn't be surprised if he walked away. Ayer never really minces words, but the dude likes a fucking paycheck. Right, the guy likes a paycheck, so I think he's fine. I think he'll be back. His contract probably stipulates that, but what I'm hoping is he'll have more control. And if DC backs off finally, you know, if they're, because I think what it was with Suicide Squad is they were trying to like homogenize it like Marvel. But Geoff Johns is not Kevin Feige. He's not. He's a good writer. He's a good talent. He's a good eye, but he's not Feige. And so they might have had a bit of battling over aesthetics at that point, probably saying to David Ayer, hey, man, you can do what the fuck you want because it doesn't matter. Like, it's just, we're doing this movie, have fun with it. But then at the end, they realized that they want more like Marvel, and that's what they chose to go for. Anyway, I'm curious to see what's going to happen with this. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with Snyder stepping back and Whedon stepping up. I think Whedon will have a better fit at WB than with Marvel. I just hope that, again, personal politics don't overtake everything. But anyway, what do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comments below. My name is, of course, Matt Jarbo. This is $3 Theater. I will talk to you guys later. Have yourself a great day, and peace out.